Cheers. Here we go. I've got my quarantini shirt on. We're ready. So I'll give it a couple seconds. Just let people get logged in here, and we'll get chatting. All right. Hey, Erin. Hey, girl. Hey, Colleen. All right, guys. So we'll get started. Hey, Lex. Well, come on, girl. So today we're talking about why diets fail. So anyone who's ever, tried to lose weight, attempted to lose weight, had an issue, ended up losing weight, gaining it back, go ahead and throw me a hand up, throw me a thumbs up, throw me your favorite emoji here. Let me know if you've ever lost and gained the same 10 pounds, the same 15, 20 pounds, 50 pounds over and over and over again, right? If that sounds like you and that sounds like something that you struggle with, give me an emoji in your comment box, okay? Let me know if that's something you're here to listen to and you want to know more about, okay? Because we're really going to be diving into that topic and diving into why diets fail and why that yo-yo pattern happens. Julie, my girl, awesome. Okay, so why diets fail, why we get stuck in this yo-yo pattern of losing, gaining. What do you do when you reach your goal? You lose 10 pounds. What do? You typically go back to what you were doing, right? You go back to drinking. You go back to eating burgers and chips and nachos and pizza and ice cream and all those other things because you reached your goal. You lost 10 pounds. That's amazing. So you go right back to what you were doing, right? And the unfortunate reality is that, Julie, your phone just hates me. We need to get you a new phone, girl. So the reality is that habits are better than goals. Okay? Habits are better than goals. So a diet, any kind of a diet, a fad diet, whatever you're going through, if you're going keto, if you're going vegan, if you're going whatever, right? You meet that goal, that's a goal, right? In that process, what habits did you pick up? What habits, what skills did you acquire, right? Now, you might have acquired the skill of being a vegan, or the skill of being keto, or the skill of being paleo, or whatever you tried, right? But was it actually something you could sustain? Was it actually a habit, right? So everyone throw me a comment, throw me an emoji if that's something that makes sense to you, right? Habits are better than goals. Anyone can reach a goal, right? We could if we wanted Tig, you guys know Tig, he's always in my stories, always in my photos. If I wanted to get Tig down a couple pounds, I probably could, right? Because that's a goal. Tig and I could work towards that goal together. I could get him outside more, I could get him playing more, we could reduce his diet, right? But what then happens once Tig reaches that goal? If we stop doing those things, his weight's going to creep back up, right? It's going to go right back to where it was, okay? If that's making sense, guys, throw me some feedback, throw me a comment, throw me a hands up, throw me something. So that's the number one reason that diets fail, is that habits are greater than goals, and most diets focus on a goal. Thanks, Brittany. Hey, girl, good to see you on here. Hey, Steph. So that's the number one reason. Habits are better than goals, right? And if we're working towards a goal but not developing a habit, where does that leave us? Right back at square one, right? Because we're going back to old habits once we hit those goals, okay? So that's the number one reason. That's the biggest thing I see when people come to me and they say, I've lost the same 20 pounds. Every January I start and I lose 20 pounds. And then, come March, they hit their goal and they feel great, right? And then come August, it's all back on, right? They've gained all that weight back, okay? Hey, Trish. Hey, girl. So, again, with your diet, if you're not developing those healthy habits and you're not making exercise part of your normal routine, you're not making, good nutrition part of your normal routine, you're not choosing, vegetables and fruits and lean proteins and sustainable foods, right? That's not going to be something that you can sustain in the long term, and therefore you're setting yourself up for failure by not developing a healthy habit. Okay, so healthy habits is the number one thing I want everyone to take away from this. Okay, the second part of this conversation gets a little more complicated and a little more technical. And if you haven't watched my Metabolism is a Water Balloon video, go back and watch that. Not right now. Don't do it right now. Stay on here. But you're going to want to watch that, because the second reason diets fail is that when you diet down, a lot of people think like they see someone really lean and they think like, oh, they've got a great metabolism. Their metabolism is fired up. But in actuality, when you're lean and when you're losing body fat, your metabolism is actually slowing down. Okay? I'll let that settle for a second. When you're losing body fat, your metabolism is actually slowing down. Okay? And that is not going to make sense to anyone, right? That is going to be confusing, and that's okay. We're going to dive into it. So, again, for those of you who have missed it, or for those of you who need to hear it again, metabolism is a water balloon, okay? And a slow metabolism means that water balloon, if you're pouring water in and there's a giant hole, is that water balloon going to fill up? No, right? That's a slow metabolism because it can't fill up, right? So, in that situation, you've now lost the weight, you've been working out like crazy, you've been not eating a lot, right? So the amount of energy your body is sustaining at is very low, right? If that makes sense, let me know. Throw me a heart, throw me a thumbs up, throw me a unicorn, somebody. Y'all know I love the unicorn emoji. When you diet down, once you've reached your goal, that's when your metabolism is at its lowest. If that makes sense, everybody let me know. Good, Trish. Both Trishes got it. Awesome. Good. Cool. So when you diet down, awesome, Brittany. Glad you got that, girl. So when you diet down, that's when your metabolism is at its lowest. Okay? So now, when you've reached your goal, you're in a situation where you feel great, you look great. Stephanie gave me a mermaid. Yeah, girl, I love it. So you've reached your goal. You are down in weight. You're exercising. You're eating better, right? But now your metabolism is crazy low. And what do? You go back to your old habits. So now, say you're sustaining your weight at, we'll give it a blanket number here, 1,300 calories, okay? And 5 hours of exercise a week, okay? Now, what you do is, because 5 hours of exercise was not sustainable for you because you run around chasing kids, you're working full-time, you're not sleeping at night, you've got all this other stuff going on, right? 5 hours, you were up to here, right? What do you start doing? You start decreasing the amount that you work out, right? And you do it gradually? Probably not, because it was never a sustained habit, right? It wasn't something you can consciously reduce. So you kind of go cold turkey, or maybe half turkey and then totally cold turkey, right? And then what do you do with your intake? Your calorie intake, right? You take that calorie intake and you say, man, I'm so glad I lost that weight. I deserve a treat. I deserve something better. I'm hungry, right? Because your metabolism is low. It's begging for nutrients. You're begging for calories. You're begging for sustenance. So what do? You eat more. And do you do it gradually? No. You go again, either half turkey or full turkey. And eventually, as the weeks go by, the months go by, that weight piles right back on, because you're in the same exact position that you were, after all of this, just a few months later, right? So you really end up in this position where what you need is a habit, right? We invest so much time and so much effort into a goal, right? And into getting to this, this kind of pinnacle. And then once we get there, once we, reach it, we haven't actually made the changes in here to keep that going, right? It's not about this, it's about this. And if you're not willing to make those changes in here and in your head and in your day and figure that out, then you're not going to sustain it, right? And that's the key, that's the trick, that's the magic, is that you've got to fix those habits. You've got to go into your ingrained patterns in your brain, things you've been doing since you were probably a teenager, if not before that. And it goes back to things you saw, shit you saw your parents do, shit you saw your friends' parents do, and your friends and your peers and everyone else around you from the time you were very young. All that stuff is ingrained in you. And it's until you do the hard work of really reflecting on that and developing those habits that you can actually make those sustainable changes and break that. Brittany, yeah, I felt that, girl, when we did your enrollment call. I felt that hard. You definitely, yeah, you had that awakening. I'm so happy about it. All right. So, again, if we're constantly chasing a goal, we reach that goal. Once we've reached that goal, what happens? Our metabolism is shit, right? We start going back to old habits. Now, the question becomes, I'm going to get a little more technical on you guys now. Is everyone following me so far? I feel like I just have to stop and make sure everyone's following me, because I'm going to get real technical again. I'm going to go back into it. Go back into it on the metabolism side. Get real dicey here. Good, Steph, we're following along. Awesome. Trish, cool. Okay, I'm going to keep going then. As long as everyone's following, I'm fired up tonight. I'm real fired up. I'm excited about this. So, what do we do? Steph, cheers. Yes, cheers. So, what do we do once we reach that pinnacle? Once we reach that goal? What is the trick? Right? So now, say we have fixed our habits. Say we have done this work. Say we have gotten to that point. We've reached that goal. Our brains are good. We're ready. We're at that place. We're conscious of the fact that we've reached the goal. Our metabolism is lower. How in the F do we get back to reality now with this slow-ass metabolism? Right? And the answer to that is a process called reverse dieting. Okay? If you've heard of reverse dieting, throw a hand up. If you have heard of it, because I'm pretty sure most people in here probably have not. But reverse dieting is the process that you go about literally reversing your diet, right? And I would argue, Brittany, you've only heard it from me. Yeah, that's what I would have probably guessed. So when you're going through reverse dieting, what you're doing is you're slowly adding back the calories and pulling back on the exercise that you've spent all this time revving up, right? So again, let's go back to our diet phase. Let's get in that diet phase mentality. We're lowering calories. We're upping the exercise. Right? And now we're at our perfect weight. We're in a great place. Now what do? We up the calories slowly. We decrease the exercise slowly. We do it so slow that your weight doesn't change. Okay? And part of that is the body goes through a process called homeostasis. Okay, and any medical people in here should know that word, should have heard it somewhere, right? Homeostasis is your body basically wanting to keep itself the same, right? Your body really wants to do that. And when we reverse diet, we're playing off of the body's desire for homeostasis, the body's desire to stay the same. And the best way I can illustrate that is a kind of insensitive way. So if anyone is sensitive to this stuff, I'm really sorry, but this is just the best way I can think to tell it to you guys in a way that makes sense. Is that they've done experiments with frogs where they will put a frog in a bowl of water, and if they slowly increase the temperature of that water, the frog will actually like boil to death because they don't notice, their body doesn't notice these small incremental changes over time, right? And our bodies are the same. If we make very small changes over time, our bodies won't really notice physiologically. So that reverse diet process where we bring the calories back up and the exercise coming down, that's how we get you from dieted to reality. And there aren't a lot of diets that you can follow that will teach you that, which is part of the problem, right? That's a big problem. That's a big reason why diets fail. Trish, is muscle mass affected during the reverse diet or during the diet? Let's get a little clarity on that question, Trish, and then I'll dive into it. But so basically, during that reverse diet, we're playing off the body's need for homeostasis, or the body's need to stay the same. Now, this reverse dieting process is also how you get through a dieting plateau, right? So if say you have a goal of losing 60 pounds, right? You want to lose 60 pounds, okay? And you've dieted down, you've lost 25. Okay, that's great. That's almost halfway to your goal, okay? You're working out 7 days a week. You're eating 1,200 calories a day. You're what I call you're burning the candle at both ends, right? But your weight loss has stopped. What do? You don't just give up, right? You have to slowly reverse diet while maintaining your weight so that your body has the opportunity to reset itself and get higher calories, less exercise, and then you can ramp up again and diet again to get further along in that weight loss goal. Okay? So reverse dieting has two big roles. Either to get you back to reality once you've reached your goal, or to get you past a weight loss plateau. Okay? And so Trish asked, is muscle mass affected during the reverse dieting process? So Trish, muscle mass during the reverse dieting process should actually be increasing. Okay? Because during the reverse diet, we're adding calories. Okay? It's very slow. We're adding calories very slowly, but we are adding calories. Okay? So another part of the reverse dieting process that I work on with clients and that I've done personally for myself is while we're dieting, we're typically doing more cardio-based, aerobic-based activities to get the heart rate up and get some extra calories burned so that way we can get the weight to come down. During the reverse dieting process, I will actually amp up muscle building activities and tone down the cardio. Right? So during reverse dieting, you're actually like some people come to me and they want to lose weight. And what we have to actually start with is a reverse diet because they've been trying to lose weight for so long that they've put their metabolism to shit. And now we're in this, shit storm of a situation where I can't make their calories go lower and I can't get them to do any more exercise. So my initial approach, especially with women, that's one of the reasons I'm on here and I'm talking to you guys, because we get so caught up in chasing calories and wanting to always cut back and always do more and always just shrink, right? That we forget that we can't, there's only so many hours in a day. And at the end of the day, if you're not eating, you're not going to sustain your body, right? You have to exist. So we can't, if I just kept going down and down and down and down in your calories and up and up and up and up in your cardio, you freaking implode, right? And that's not possible. So where does it end, right? And that's why you'll hear people say things, and oh God, it's so mind-boggling. You'll hear people say things like, I don't eat anything. Why am I still 200 pounds? I don't eat anything. I work out all the time. And, you hear people say that, and some people will be like, oh, that's bullshit. They have to be eating. They have to be doing that, right? That's not true. And I hope you guys understand that now after this talk. When people say, I'm not eating anything, I don't know why I don't lose weight, that can be very true. And that has to do with your metabolism and a lack of a reverse dieting process put into place. Okay, Channing, this is a really good question. I feel like it's a mental thing for some people. Yes, absolutely. And I talk about this a lot too, right? How many women do I get on a consult? And, I talked about this, where was I talking about it? I think it was last week or the week before with Vic in one of our podcast episodes where I did a consult, and I don't want to say I wasn't like mean to this girl. I was maybe a little mean. But, the first thing she said to me, Channing, right off the bat was, I refuse to eat more than 1,600 calories a day. I refuse. That was like the first thing she said to me. And, in my head, and I kind of had to just like put a wall up and say, you know what, girl? That's totally fine. Totally cool. When you're ready to break through that mental barrier, come find me. We'll touch base. Because she wasn't going to get anywhere, and I hope she just sees more and more content out there, and she does her own research and can come to her own conclusion on her own. But that's a mental barrier. 100% Channing. Absolutely. That is absolutely a mental barrier. 100%. And, the craziest thing is I'm not gonna call anyone out on this, on a live or anything, but, my client, like my smallest client, eats the most. Right? And that's just what it is, right? That's where your metabolism is set. That's where people have trained their metabolisms to be, and yeah, it's definitely mental. It's definitely mental. And when you get stuck, Channing, I think too, in a perpetuating, yo-yoing, gaining, losing pattern, it definitely becomes like you get so like caught up in it. All you want to do is consume less and do more because you constantly think you're not doing enough. So it definitely gets ingrained into your mind and into your psyche, and it comes out for sure. Good question, Channing. Awesome. And let's see. So Trish, did we cover your muscle building question or your muscle mass question? Did that make sense to you? Let me see. Yeah, cool. Okay, awesome. Trish. Yeah, this stuff gets me so fired up. So, again, let's back up here a little bit. Habits are better than goals. Okay? If you're not working to develop a habit, you might reach a goal, but you're never gonna keep it, ever, if you're not working on this. Okay? Now, once you reach that goal, you might not know that you need reverse dieting. You might not know that. And that might be a reason your diet failed. Okay? Even once you reach that goal, even if you know reverse dieting is your answer, it might still be really freaking hard. And it is, right? I've been there. I have several dozens of clients that have been there, right? Where they reach their goal and they're working out so much and you're hungry and you're not eating a ton and you just get on these binge cycles, right? And then you end up overeating and you're like, man, I could not stick to my reverse diet. Like the diet was great because I was fired up and energetic, but by that point, I was too burnt out to stick to a plan, to stick to a reverse diet. Brittany, what is the best way to form a habit? Is it true that a habit is formed in 30 days? So, Brittany, a habit is formed in 12 weeks. 12 weeks. Yeah, 12 weeks. 3 months. Yeah, 3 months. Not 30 days. I'm not sure where that number came from, but yeah, it's 12 weeks is the number for a habit, for sure. So again, once you get to that process, sticking to a reverse diet is very difficult, but it is the key to getting you to keep that weight off, right? And again, if you're at that point where you need to start reverse dieting and you don't feel like it, and you're tired, and you're hungry, and you're overworked, right? That's also a good indicator that you didn't work on developing your habits. And full circle, there we are, right? So that's the go around. If you can really kind of vision the course of a year, right? Because that's usually the amount of time it will take, is about a year for someone to go from January wanting to lose their weight, March they've lost it, August they've gained it back, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas hit. They're not going to start anything then. January, here we go again, right? And around we go. So if you can imagine that in the course of a year, right? If you spent January through March working on a habit, right, as opposed to reaching a goal, that's your 12 weeks, right? Does that make sense, Brittany? So if you spent those 12 weeks working on a habit, where would you be as opposed to working on a goal? I'm not saying that goals aren't important. Goals are very important. Good, cool. Goals are very important, but they are just destined for failure if they don't have habits attached to them. Okay? Whew. That was a lot. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me. I know that was some super heavy stuff. I love talking about this. I could do this all day. Does anyone have any questions? I'll hang out here for a minute or so and just see if anyone's got any questions. You're welcome, Brittany, and you're doing great. Trisha, any tips on how to get the entire household? That is a good question. Yeah, so when you've got husband and kiddos, Trish, gut health, yes. Oh, I love this. This is awesome. Okay, so Trisha Santucci, I'm not really sure how to say your last name, sweetie. How to get the whole household. So, that definitely, I think that depends on a lot of things. It depends on who usually sets the tone in your house, right? Is that you? Is that your husband? Is that a particularly dominant child that you have? I think it can really go at either way or any way. The only real advice I can have on that is that you need to, and this sounds really insensitive, but it's just kind of how it has to be, right? You have to become bigger than that. And you have to dig deep enough in here to overcome whatever that habit is, right? So say, you and your husband have a habit of sitting on the couch to watch Netflix at night, and you guys just share a pint of ice cream, or whatever it is, right? And that's a habit, that's something that you do, or it's the chips, or whatever, right? So if that's where you're at, then you have two choices. You can either say, I'm not doing this anymore, and stop. You can find a healthier alternative to that. So, one of the, what are the, Halo Top ice creams are like a better brand, or making homemade chips, or whatever it is, right? That's a better solution for that. Or you can have a conversation with your husband and say, hey, you know what? I have a goal that I constantly try to reach. I can never get there. And in order to do that, I need to develop this healthier habit. Do you want to do that with me? And that's just a conversation that you have to have between you and the people in your household. And if you're not usually the one that sets the tone for those things, then you need to become the person that sets the tone for those things. And that's just how it is. I mean, I know for me, I've competed, and so it is very difficult when you have a goal of getting down to 10% body fat, which for a woman is very low. And you've got friends that are going out for dinner, and you've got family that gets together every weekend, and you've got all these people doing things, right? And you're kind of in a position where you don't want to be rude, you don't want to like break the mold, right? You don't want to upset anyone or offend anyone. So you're either in a position where, I would show up to events and either like check the menu at a restaurant first, or you bring your own food, or you just don't eat at all, or you kind of eat once that day to make up for it, right? And it just comes down to the fact that you have to be the person to spark that. You have to be the person to overcome all of these other habits of the people around you. And I'm not saying in your house, Trisha, that you have to do it at the level of a competitor by any means, but it's the same principles. You have to force people to recognize what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish, and you have to be stronger than their energy levels. That's just somewhere where you have to get mentally. Okay. And then Trish Resendiz, let's see. She said, "What do I think about gut health?" Okay, gut health. That is a very individual kind of a question. We can touch base on this a little, like on a one-on-one setting, Trish, if you want to. But gut health is really tough because I put out a belly bloat program in the group a few weeks ago, and women had just like amazing results. Like, y'all did fantastic on the belly bloat program, and I think gut irritants there are some foods that are just plain old, they're gut irritants, right? And that's going to be your dairy, your coffee, your gluten, your, those big ticket items, right? And then there are going to be other people that are completely tolerant, right? They have no issue with those foods, right? It might be that maybe you're not dairy intolerant, but maybe like 5 servings of dairy a day is not good for you, right? That's your limit. That's where your body's like, oh, this is just too much, right? And there was, again, someone on here that asked me about coffee, and she was like, this belly bloat program, I can't have coffee. And I was like, listen, I love coffee. I get it. I'm never going to tell someone don't drink coffee, but how much coffee do you drink? And she said 6 cups of coffee. And I was like, that might bloat you, right? Like, ugh. So like, let's come down to 2 and see what happens. And she had awesome results on the program, right? So as far as gut health goes, I think it's individual and it's very lifestyle based. And it is whatever you can implement, safely, and it's realistic for you. That's what's going to help your gut health in the long term. Okay. So, and again, dealing with gut health issues sucks because it's like all the shit that we want, we just like can't have, right? And I mean, even too much wine, like, right? I mean, I love wine. You guys see me on here talking nutrition with wine in my hand all the time. And I even have my quarantini shirt on, right? Because like my mother-in-law knows, like I survived quarantine with cocktails, and too much of that lights me up. And I know it's not good for my gut, but we just make our choices and we pick our battles with our food, I think, the most. So I can definitely get that program sent over to you, Trish, if you want it and you want to look at it a little bit more. Okay, let's see what Taryn said. Taryn, I think one of my issues that I've noticed is being motivated or being embarrassed. Like I go to a very small gym because it makes me not want to go back. It's like a competition. Okay. It's mental. I start and feel like I messed up, you quit. Yep. Taryn, that's a big issue. And like I said, a lot of this is mental. A lot of this is the brain game, right? And, like I said from the very beginning, we've got to dig back into, what did I see my parents do? What did I see my siblings do? What did I see my peers do? What did I read in magazines? What did I think growing up, and how has that now carried over into today? And I know, like, it just really messes with your head when you can't identify those patterns, and when you look at, I think especially not only looking at those, not only looking at that in terms of what did the people in my life do, but what did the women in my life do, right? Like, what was my mom doing at 30, right? What were her sisters doing? What were her friends doing? What were the women that were my age now? What were they doing? And if they were also yo-yo dieting and struggling to get in and out of the gym and, having all these same issues, kind of not surprising that we're in this position, right? And so, again, it's going to be the same advice I told Trisha Santucci, that you've got to just dig deeper to overcome that. And if that's, the fact that you need someone to hold you accountable, if that's the fact that you need to really dig deep into the positive mantras and listen to, music that makes you happy and write things down that make you happy, and then you have to figure that out. And you have to know that all of the efforts that you put in, you are not a failure. You've never messed up. There is nothing you could do that would blow it, right? And we talked about that, in our last nutrition talk, when we talked about the wine, right? And we said, our topic was how to incorporate wine into your diet without blowing it. And my answer to that is, it's very hard to blow it, right? It's very difficult to blow it, okay? And the reason goes back to that homeostasis conversation about the frog, right? Our bodies want to stay the same. They really want to. So it is very difficult to blow it. It's these habits over time that lead us to where we are, right? You don't wake up 20 pounds overweight, right? You don't wake up in whatever situation you're in, right? It's over time. And so those habits have to be built, they have to be formed, and there's nothing you could do in one day that's going to blow all the work you've done, right? So you've really got to dig deep to get out of that mindset and to break those patterns mentally, okay? And I hope that's something that's helpful. And again, we can talk more one-on-one on that if that's something you're interested in and you really need to work on breaking through, Taryn. I'm always here for you, girl. Okay. Any other questions, you guys? And thanks, Steph. This shirt was from my mother-in-law. She gets me. That's it. It literally says at the bottom, I'm surviving the quarantine one cocktail at a time. Okay, anything else, you guys? Awesome. I had so much fun tonight. I love sharing this stuff with you guys. Thank you so much for your input. And Taryn, your mother-in-law is the best. She really is. Thank you guys so much for your energy and your input. I love sharing this stuff with you. If you have any questions, shoot me a DM. Those of you who have my number, shoot me a text. I love hearing from you guys. I love hearing just feedback and questions, and it really it fires me up and gives me energy. So please let me know. Thank you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.